I'm Darla, and today I'm here with Tyler Watkins.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are going to talk about this beautiful bike.
This is my 1975 Shovelhead. Just like everybody else, bought the ugliest donor I could find. But it was numbers matching, and living in California, obviously, DMV hates these bikes more than anything. So it's numbers matching, motor trans, front half of the frame. I didn't grow up necessarily in a biker family. There was always a bike around, but I could not have cared less at the time. Buddies rode dirt bikes. My dad always had a bike. My grandpa had a bike, but I just didn't want to. I never cared to be on the back. Didn't have any allure to any two-wheeled machine. I grew up at rat rod shows and muscle car shows. I went to elementary school in a '68 Camaro somehow, and Dad was into rat rods, and that's just how I grew up. When I was 19, I blew up my knee pretty good and had surgery. And I drove this cool old boogie van kind of right before they popped, which would have been nice because I would have made more money on it at the time. but it was a stick, and I blew up my left knee and I couldn't drive a stick. I was a community college student on crutches, and I remember just kind of going through, I was finishing up an online class, and I was going through YouTube, and I'm sure everyone knows this video, but I came across the Max Schaff 4Q show class mag video of him and this bike called the Black Panther. And it's this, I don't even think it's a 2-minute video, but it's him kicking this bike over in a dry lake bed, and he kicks it over in gear.
Yeah.
And it takes off on him, and somehow he jumps on it and rides away. I remember looking at that bike, and I was like, dude, this is sick. It breaks all the rules, right? It's up sweeps, and it's super huge. It's a 19 rear and a black bike, but it kind of was sparked an interest and dove into the whole YouTube side of all the early Born Free videos, the old Born Free 5 ones that they used to do. And I immediately was like, shit, this is what I'm into. This is it. And never touched an old car again for the most part. But that's kind of sparked the whole interest on it.
I had a little bit same but different where my family was into just Harleys my whole life. So I was getting taken to elementary school on the back of my dad's bikes.
Yeah,
I had to carry a little helmet around all day.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just cool. Everybody finds their way to it one way or another.
Totally. And I had the millennial perfect cookie cutter story of it. Is I just found it on the internet, dove into all the old blogs that everyone had, and just kind of developed my own taste on it. I knew what a chopper was. Per just references I had seen. I understood the idea of it, but developing your own taste, you're I like kind of looking at the At the Risers blog and the 4Q blog and Mike Davis, kind of got the history on a lot of the Bay bikes and the early wide glides. Everybody had a wide glide with Fort Gators and low bars and upsweeps and skinny bikes, and I was that's it. That's what's cool. It's that and gassers. You're it's the same thing of they all look like Hot Wheels, but people use them.
Yeah. So why don't we go through your build? You can go front to back or back to front, or whatever particular order.
Perfect. It's a lot of swap meet parts. Bought the donor. I didn't know anybody at the time that was into choppers like I was. We're in Placerville, California. It's the center point between Sacramento and South Lake Tahoe. It's the last real town. It's 10,000 people. It's the last town before you really run elevation to Tahoe. So it's kind of touristy. But there's not a lot of chopper stuff up here unless they're old guys that are way hidden in the woods, because it gets rural fast. 10 minutes from here is the boonies.
It's the OG chopper guys.
Yeah, which we've been fortunate to meet in riding these. But I didn't know anybody at that time. I didn't have this cool old timer that we all dream of to have a point of reference. So I had to do the thing that men are good at and ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
And I approached it like every other man would, and I had a few beers one night and shot a Hail Mary DM to a guy that I respected a ton. And it's Scotty Detweiler from Junior's Handmade, and asked him to hardtail the frame because I had the numbers matching frame, which was important to me because I built, the premise of this bike was, this was always the idea I had in my head. And fortunately it was something I was satisfied with in the end, but it was the bike I built for keeps. And I knew what I wanted, and I wanted, if he'd allow me to, him to be a part of it. And the next morning I woke up and he had shot a message back, and it was the best. And I'm very fortunate to call him like a close friend now.
You're having like guy butterflies for him.
For sure, yeah. And I'll be the first person to embarrass myself. I totally did. And when like we're really good friends now, and I'm very fortunate for that. But he did the fab work on it, and I picked it up. We found all the meth crazy neck work, and it was just like kind of a disaster of certain parts. Picked it up, and my buddy Matt Sullivan, who doesn't do a ton of bike work anymore, but it was old Calaveras motorcycle at the time. He helped me do like a lot of finishing stuff, but a lot of it's just swap meet stuff. Chopper swapper for his front end, front wheel, like rear wheels, random parts. Just had like a local guy lace it up. Powder coated the frame. Had like a local guy paint it. His name's Kevin from Holden Automotive, locally here. It was just like a lot of cool stuff. And then big fan of Shoff. He's that blog kind of got me into a lot of this stuff, and so I'm fortunate enough to have like a kicker pedal from him. And I flipped a lot of bikes at the time to try to fund this because none of this shit is cheap. And just picked little parts off every bike I bought. And so little stuff like the filigree here is like, it's just for fun, but I liked that off a bike I had and swapped parts and blew up the motor coming home from Virginia City last year. Limped it home, which was cool. My buddy Brian Jones rebuilt it, and we did white cylinders, which pissed off a lot of people. The dog bone risers as passenger pegs is always a is always a point of contention at swap meets. I got called out for that this morning. Just a lot of parts.
Sassy, okay.
Yeah. But just a lot of parts. It's like when you build a bike for yourself, you just add on little stuff. And stuff like push rod collars, like little turquoise, like those personal touches I love. And, a lot of us that do this keep a lot of the bikes, have a bike that we keep. And I like those little touches everyone gets to put on.
No, yeah, definitely. Personality.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Because I didn't reinvent the wheel. I didn't build a bike that doesn't look like the silhouette of every other bike. It looks like every other one. But I built the bike I wanted to build the bike that was in my head and ride the shit out of it. And that's kind of what we've done, and I'm proud of that.
The bike tells you what it wants to be while you're doing it.
Yes. Yes, and there was definitely these weird, I had like a lot of like life stuff going on when I was like putting this together, and kind of weirdly every big like milestone I hit with like firing the bike or getting paint back or whatever, there was a weird like life event that happened that was like a buddy having a hard time where like something big happened where like got sober, or just like some weird life stuff happened every time there was a moment. So it kind of got a little sentimental over certain parts of it. So it's fun. It's all in good fun.
So the turquoise really stood out to me as soon as first thing I noticed, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because I saw the gas cap first, and then I saw that after.
Yeah.
I don't even think I've ever seen like turquoise on the front like that. Was that just like something that you thought of, or you just like kind of like came across it and then
I came across it. I am like violently aware that it's like, I love this bike. It's my bike.
Yeah.
It's not colorful or like that fun as far as like the average person would look at it and be like, oh look, it's a black Harley. But I wanted like a splash of color, like something to identify it. And I had went to a place, our buddy Dave's shop, it's Uncle's chopper shop, doesn't exist anymore. But I had walked in and saw those push rod collars. And he had black and white and turquoise inlays. And I was like, dude, I gotta have those turquoise ones. And I'm like super not flashy as a guy, but I was drawn to him. I was like, I gotta have, this is like so sick.
It's a nice little touch.
It's something kind of fun. But and then I found the cap to match.
I get what you're saying, because it's like in the chopper world, you see guys with like hot pink bikes and like all this like different stuff. So you're like, had to do something.
Yeah, I do something to mix it up, because it's just a black bike. It's what we like because we're into choppers, unfortunately, the expensive thermometers of the world. But I was stoked on it, and I think it goes well with the white cylinders now, and found the cap to match, and it all just is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Some of Tyler's buddies are here, and they've been talking Milky Jugs, and I'm just like, what is with this Milky Jugs situation? You gotta tell me.
Right. So when my buddy Brian redid the motor, we painted the cylinders white. My buddy Nick told me it was an old show trick, because in the 60s, obviously all the publications were in black and white. So when you took a black and white photo of white jugs, they looked chrome. So now I'm just the milkman.
Dude, I mean, the name suits you, I think.
Yeah, dude, I'm jugular.
What about your exhaust?
Yeah, the exhaust, when I I grew up, my dad was always into bikes, and he always had like the Heritage Softail, or the Springer Softail, sorry, and which is like the 90s homage to older bikes. It has like a late model Springer, and he daily rode it every day, like a couple hours to work. And it's rad, but I wasn't into it at the time. But he always had this picture. It was like a centerfold of a hot bike in the magazine in the 90s. And it was this black pan with 61 to 62 tanks. And it was the Sonny Barton bike from the Galloping Goose Club, who the bike actually just got found a couple of years ago, which is cool. But it was just like the idea of his dream bike. And that was my idea of a chopper. And that bike is it's a panhead in a straight leg frame. It's a chrome Springer, up sweeps, split tanks. That was my idea of what a chopper was. It wasn't like the long bike. I didn't see Easy Riders till this bike was done. Like I didn't have that idea of a bike, but it was super cool. And years later, that bike exists, and that's my dad's bike, and it's my uncle's tanks from when my dad was in high school, and a lot of sentiment in that bike. But I was able to be like, that's my point of reference for what a chopper is, and I built my version of that bike.
Yeah.
And it was, I like Shovelheads. That's always been like my favorite motor. And I like a wide glide. My idea was like build a skinny bike with upsweep. Like I love Taylor's bike. That's my style, is like high and tight. And I somehow decided to build like a scrawny bike with upsweeps with the widest front end I could find, with the wide bars. And it was kind of like the juxtaposition was fun to me. And I just love that. So the pipes are kind of an homage to like the classic upsweeps, but they're a little different, and it allows for a passenger better. But they're just fun. They're all just like Hot Wheels, you know?
Yeah.
They're Hot Wheels that we are fortunate enough to be able to be the caretakers of, and at least me and my buddies, we beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
You know, we ride them. Like I said, I ride this bike almost every day, and I'm fortunate to be able to do so, and I feel very lucky.
So, how long ago was it when you finished this build? I
finished it about just over 2 years ago for Chopper Fest in Ventura.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. Actually, I brought it down to the show and ended up meeting a lot of the SAG guys they all rode down for that.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of funny, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it worked out. It was really cool.
Have you taken it on any like cool trips?
Yeah, I did. 2 years ago, I did Born Free on this trip. I had done maybe 400 miles on the completed version, like nut and bolt frame off build. I nuked the transmission 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave, and that was a big trip for me. I've done it many times on like my old Sporty and all this stuff, but it was really big for me to do it on this bike, because it took me a couple years to put this together and just figuring it out. And I had lost my childhood best friend right before the trip, and so it was like really big for me to be like, I just need to hit the road. And it blew up the trans. And my buddy Brian, who has had this panhead since high school, lent me a trans out of a bike he had picked up that had sat on a shelf for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, if you can make this work, like, make the trip. Otherwise, I wasn't able to, you know. And I borrowed a trans, and I did 1,400 miles in 4 days on this with basically like not many.
Did you go by yourself?
I had one other buddy on the road with me. We had a chase vehicle for most of the trip. But other than spending a small fortune on gear oil, we didn't miss a beat and made the whole trip. And it was like...
Did you feel like it was... I feel like if I just lost like a really good friend, and then I'm like... Okay, so for people who don't know, that's at least like what, like 7-8 hours?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like
it's
that's like
big.
a pivotal moment of your life, just like being out on the road, like with all those like feelings and emotion, just kind of like.
Totally, because motorcycles are like, they can be as singular or like as communal as you want them to be, you know? Like you can ride by yourself, or you can be in a group of people and feel like you're by yourself. I was super like heavy-headed because of the whole thing. And I'm a huge music guy. Yeah. And I remember like rolling into like Santa Barbara in the sunset and like have like a really heavy song play out of nowhere, and we'd just be like lose it. Yeah. And you're like, this is what it's about. You know, you build this machine, you turn every nut and bolt on, and then you have like this heavy moment where you're like, this machine allowed me to have that moment, and it's all connected.
Songs take you places.
Big time, yeah. Big time.
Songs
so it was cool.
And smells.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you attribute memories to stuff like that, you know? Yeah. And it's one of my like heaviest memories that's like positive. It was the cup was overfilling at that moment. Yeah. And it was a very happy moment. I look at it that way. But it was partially because I was on this.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. So little stuff like that, you know, that's bikes. And like, you can't not be in love with these things. Like, you just can't. Like, if you're half-assed into this stuff, you're gonna hate them and you're never gonna touch them. Like, we rode 40 miles to the swap this morning and I had to pull the tools out to turn one bolt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the average person is like not okay with that at all. Like, they're super expensive. Like, the parts are impossible to find. I just turned 30 this week. Being 28 and asking a question to some old guy that you meet at some weird biker bar, they don't give a shit about you. Like, those are the people that are always like, who cares? Like, fuck you. Like, whatever. I pulled up on this, like, leaking oil one of the first times, like, puking. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, do you guys have this, like, little fitting at like, a notorious biker bar? And everyone sat there with, like, their, like, old shit.
Because
and they were just, like, basically told me to go fuck myself. And you're like, hey, man, like, okay. Like, if any sane person had a hobby like that, they'd be like, I'm done with this. That's like such a ridiculous experience. But we're unfortunately cursed.
I think at least the people that I come across, like at now our age group, like it's more of a community and people are pretty nice and helpful. Like,
it's
just
totally,
today,
especially up here.
Just today, Alex, our videographer, was helping some guy kickstart his bike, but he just got it. Like, I don't know if he bought it literally today at the swap meet, but he just got it and he couldn't start his bike. And Alex was over here like, let me help you. And he like showed him the sequence that like usually works.
Totally. And they're so finicky. And like what you guys are doing, I really appreciate. And you can cut this out if you need. But I'm like so appreciative of what you guys are doing up here because like some like people like Tommy and those guys are like some of the guys I met. I had like this annoying experience where like I finished this before I met a lot of the people up here. And so like me doing break-in miles, I was like, I built something I'm really proud of that I think looks cool. Yeah. But like some of the tuning questions seem really stupid. So like I get to ask like Tommy and Chris and like all these guys, you know? But like the NorCal community is like so sick and I think it gets overlooked sometimes. Not that it's a pissing contest, but like chopper industry is not here. Yeah. But there's a lot of dudes up here who put down a ton of miles. And like up here, the miles are a little different. There's no shoulders on these roads. Like you gotta be pretty confident in these machines to put down like 40 miles to go meet your buddy for a beer. Because if the central
know your bike.
Yes, you have to have like a full-blown like love-hate relationship with it. If everybody you've interviewed so far that I'm like totally aware of, if we all wanted to sit and have a beer one day, there's not a person that has to ride less than 45 minutes to all meet up, but we're all close. Yeah. NorCal's a little more spread out. For us to go to the one spot I know everyone want to go to, we take a left out of this driveway and it's like crazy curvy roads for 45 minutes. Yeah. And it would be the best. And and you'd show up and there'd be 40 bikes there and it's all the NorCal guys.
What's the favorite sandwich that your mom makes for you?
Ooh, a big rube job guy. Little pastrami Reuben, rye bread, Swiss, Thousand Island. Does the trick generally.
Damn.
Yeah.
My mom doesn't make me sandwiches.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us come over to interview you
Anytime.
and your bike. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
We're about to watch this bad boy out on the street. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and check in next Saturday for a new video.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, dude, I'm jugular.